My name is Teresa Lockwood. I reside in Vineland, New Jersey. My camera wasn't starting right, so I'm not really sure. I hope this comes out right. So, the thing is, I'm going to just record, William Clay. He's using all these words, in my conversation between me and Christopher Lieutenant Landy. And, he's responding to deception, by the way. Okay. And he's being attacking towards me by the slander of the Vineland, New Jersey Police Department, in which the Vineland Police, Internal Affairs, and others are basically getting others to actually falsely accuse me. Okay, even including dispatcher or what have you. For example, okay, I have been harassed by Officer Burris for many, many, many years. I mean, this started in my street ministry where he began and rode by me and basically said, God never did anything for you, because he was attacking me, my belief in God. As I encountered him like shortly before and ministering about things about God and talking about God. So the thing is that, so that just a little while later, I mean, there was no conflict at the time or what have you. I was getting along with people. We were all, whatever. Apparently, he kept his thoughts to himself, and I'm just sitting basically in front of the Ministry of Vine doing a silent protest. And the thing is, which was my right, by the way, and nobody is allowed to make any judgment to actually refuse me protesting, by the way. Which is what the so-called Vine tried to do, or did, because apparently they think they can just go around and refuse people's rights, and that's exactly what they did. So this church, Ramoth Church, who's persecuting me continuously for, well, since around just after year 2000. Excuse me. I should do this video over. I had the hairs cling to me and basically just... Okay, anyway, so the thing is that this William Clay is copying the attacks, basically attacks to me, by the Vineland, New Jersey Police Department. So this is the thing. I'll give you an example. The example is, so he's going to sit there and talk about, oh, can you remain in unity, people, just because you don't like them? This is the thing. I have been hung up on, okay, by BURRIS for a number of years. If he answers the phone, he hangs up on me automatically. Okay? So he has basically attacked me, called me sir even not too long ago. Okay? And so, yeah, so he's actually done this for a number of years before I finally went off on him, like just maybe like a couple months ago. In response, after years of like him bullying me. Okay? Refusing me service or whatever, mocking me, laughing at me, transferring me to bogus numbers, doing all these things or whatever, and slandering me. Okay? So, calling me crazy and all these other things or whatever. Oh, yes, because I believe in God. And yes, he does hide in a church, by the way. And yes, he is a domestic violence abuser also, by the way. So, the thing is, I have tried to talk to him, but he basically just treats me like an it. Okay? So, apparently that's his own issues, but he has slandered me, etc. He showed up at my property where I had actually people threatening to murder me on my page, cyberbullying me. And basically he comes up with, oh, that's not harassment. And he's doing this basically to abuse me or whatever. So I didn't even check his report. I'm sure he slandered me. So the thing is that, the thing is not too long ago, I'm talking about roughly a month or two ago, I'm like, he's not a law enforcement officer. All right? I said, you keep transferring me to Burris. He keeps hanging up on me, and I've said this a number of times. Now, just mind you, a number of dispatchers do the same thing. And then they have a one-sided story or whatever, making these false claims that, first of all, they were falsely accusing me of calling and hanging up, which I never, ever have ever done. I called, they hung up on me, and I called back. They called me immature, by the way. Okay, and while they're harassing me, and then I'm going off or whatever, because they're mind raping me. mentally abusing me, just being very nasty to me. I told them to grow up. So they sit there and echo my words and tell me to grow up for basically going off of them for them abusing me. So yeah, describing their abominations, by the way, and their grotesque prostitution and all these other things or whatever, and all the promoted supervisors that basically use them as a little puppets for little perverted favors. So the thing is that I've been persecuted by the Vineland Police for about 20 years, okay, and because I am a religious Christian, okay. So they're blaming me for this continuously still. By the way, these people destroyed my family in collusion with the Vineland Nazarene Ramoth Church. Okay, and they've been abusing me for being a victim of domestic violence. I had PTSD and suffer severe trauma caused by the Ramoth Church, Vineland Police, my abuser, courts, and everything else like that or whatever. Okay, so I live in continual suffering, and they want to blame me for that also. Not the abusers, not the ones committing crimes against me. They're going to blame me. I've always been their scapegoat, okay? So these people are programmed and brainwashed to basically buy false indoctrinations of abominations that are against God to basically target and persecute the witness, the one who has insight, and those basically who have knowledge that basically, knows that they're evil. So, the only people that I don't get along with is evil people committing crimes against me or other people. That's the only people I don't get along with. It's unfortunate most of the people, well, are evil. So that's a fact. But that's the only reason I don't get along with people. So they're on this little fantasy trip or whatever, how, this is all my fault because they're abusing me. So the thing is that we're going to listen to him because this is the thing. In that, I'm sitting there and I told him to stop connecting me to BURRIS, right? Because he's just hanging up on me. Or he doesn't answer the phone. They have a caller ID. Some claim they don't. I know they do because I can sit there and not call for a few days, need to call for something or whatever. And yes, all my calls are legitimate. Okay? All of them. And I wouldn't have to keep calling back or whatever if they took care of the service. They're refusing me service for 20 years in the Vineland, New Jersey Police Department because I'm being discriminated against for being an intellectual religious Christian woman, plus woman, the main key. Okay, a woman with intelligence, the knowledge of God. So no, I didn't go for many years sitting there going around sitting there saying I have the knowledge of God. I didn't even go around sitting there putting the term God on everything. I simply speak knowledge. It's knowledge connected to women, therefore they attack us. It's just that simple. So, excuse me. My foot was caught under a blanket wrapped around my foot. So the thing is that so they play this little game or whatever when I'm being hung up on. They're harassing me, and then the dispatcher, who is echoing somebody else, okay, sits there and says to me, you can't, because I said he's not a law enforcement officer, right? And they're like, well, just because you don't like him. I said, excuse me, I don't not just like people for no reason. I said he harassed me for years. He keeps hanging up on me. If he cannot perform the duty, and this is what I told him also when I have connected with him. If you cannot perform the duty of being a law enforcement officer, get out of the way. You do not have the right to refuse me law enforcement services. Okay? So, and I actually had to say that a number of times for years, by the way. So I'm calling law enforcement. I'm not calling anybody else. I'm not calling your opinions. I'm not calling your whatever you're raised on, whatever issue you're going through right now, whatever. I'm calling law enforcement. If you cannot perform the job, I want to be connected to somebody who basically practices law enforcement. I have a right to connect with that law enforcement officer, and you are hindering and obstructing justice. Now, he's sitting there also echoing my word and my term that I use quite often, hinder. Okay, which is commonly, it is used, I found, throughout police terms or whatever. It is among a lot of theological writings, okay? Especially if you're going into like older school dialect or whatever and things like that and research. So that's where I picked up the thing hinder. So he is echoing words that were just recently used, like echoing that of the false claims of the dispatcher. So they're saying, oh, well, just because you don't like him. They keep downplaying and refusing everything that's going on and downplaying, blaming me, and that is my issue, and downplaying it to, oh, just because I don't like him. And I said, no, excuse me. First of all, I don't just not like somebody for no reason. Okay, and I said, you have to be basically abusing me and harassing me mentally, just like doing all these things for me come to the point that I don't like anybody. But I said, but this is not even an issue of whether I like anybody. I don't have a preference if I like somebody or not. Do I hate officers who have psychologically tortured me and basically colluded to sit there and destroy my family and attack my children? Absolutely. So there's a bigger issue. Now, the thing is, he thinks he's the cops. He's like all in there, right? With these officers, and he thinks he knows them so much. And he's going to echo all the lies and deceptions. First of all, when he goes on to his parts about theological, oh, you died to self and theological, and he's using the words that I basically was responding to in regards to atheist attacks. Now, the thing is, Mr. William Clay here, I'm not saying you don't know atheists in life or whatever, things that they use or whatever, but I've been researching atheists by simply personal experience, okay, not that personal, online, and basically the behavior of the anti-theist atheists. This is how I was attacked, not only by Lieutenant Christopher Landy, but also by Leonard Wolf, Lene Bowers. Lene Bowers is a little different, okay, but she basically did make abusive attacks and refused me my rights and services. And they're going to on this thing after they abuse and harass me or whatever, and he's echoing their words, and basically they're making claims such as, oh, it's because you have expectations. Yes, I do have expectations when I call law enforcement office that, oh, yes, I have the right to make a complaint. And then if you sit there and a crime is being committed against me and you commit crimes against me for reporting crime, which they have been doing for 20 years, and reporting abuse, they have been attacking me. Okay? So, they basically want to blame me and say, oh, I'm hurt because I have expectations. Yeah, expectations of my report of a crime being made, and all my complaints are legitimate. They're making up lies and falsely labeling my complaints as illegitimate, which is trying to trigger me because they attacked my children. Originally sitting there calling my children illegitimate. And the Calvary Chapel Francopolitan is calling my children sin. Because I'm grieving over my children for many years in pain, and they're going to sit there and say, oh, I'm grieving over my sin, which is a bold-faced lie. I'm grieving over my children, and I cry like 10 times a day for like 15 years in agony and pain over my children. My children are not sin. My children are not illegitimate. They make up a lie for everything that I say. All they do is open their mouth with rape, mind rape, every time if I speak. And this is what this monster William Clay did. So, they attacked me. I'm just going to record him. He goes on. And I just want to let you know what the whole response of theological comes from in my argument. Yeah. they're going to sit there like, oh, you always got to argue. This is what they're doing. First of all, they make up a lie. Oh, yeah, hinder investigation, hinder it from even being done, by the way. Why they're obstructing justice and misleading with all the deceptions and lies, either fraudulent Pentecostals who are persecuting me in the Vineland, New Jersey Police Department, Latour, Rivera, the male Rivera, there's like a couple of them, formerly Jason Scouts, who committed heinous crimes against me, even had me jailed for reporting the persecution and abuses of his cult church, slandering me in court, calling me religious and a legalist. Sitting there falsely claiming to cover it up and the abuses by them, falsely sitting there claiming that, I'm defaming their character. Now, all I did is sit there and speak against what they did, and sitting there claiming that I'm defaming their character is them defaming my character, but they're trying to sit there while they're lying about me, trying to make me out to be a liar, and I do not bear false witness. I'm not talking about unintentional mistake or what have you, make mistakes and I correct my errors. Okay, but the thing is, no, I keep the 10 Commandments, which they called me and condemned me as religious and a legalist for basically keeping the 10 Commandments and teaching them. So it started in the Vineland Nazarene Church, which I'm about to record, of William Clay. So the thing is, I was attacked by atheist Lieutenant Christopher Landy. Sometimes these atheists are basically wanting to pretend that they're Christian, and they're not, by the way. But they use the same cookie cutter atheism, anti-theist atheism that I get cyberbullied online. For example, me being discriminated against, refusing my complaint or whatever, and getting into a discussion or what have you. And because I am religious or whatever, he's going to sit there and biasly claim that, oh, he's of reason because he's an atheist. And I'm like, that has no, that's not even a sound reason. Trying to make him think because he's a non-thinker. Very ignorant, by the way. Okay? And try to use anti-theist, atheist tactics like they all do online. They're all cookie cutter. All cookie cutter, the same thing. I sat there, prove God exists. Prove God exists. Oh, that's a concept. It just made up this thing. I was like, no, a concept is basically what I perceive or what have you, but my description of infinite of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that is above all creation. And basically that even no matter what, if you're an atheist or whatever, if when we seek things out, the beyond books or what we do not know and obtain something that is beyond ourselves, you can't deny that there is no God or whatever. Did I say that right? You cannot deny and claim, that there is no God. Or what have you, when you obtain knowledge from beyond yourself that you did not previously obtain and that you did not get from books or anybody else. And yes, that can be received from, oh yes, those who claim to be atheists and those who claim to be, it doesn't matter what they claim. It's about the desires of the mind and what they obtain at that time. So, the thing is, they just want to put labels on it, and it's a whole thing. They go around, and when I'm presenting facts, like in a case, and basically a criminal case, they put, oh, that's your opinion on the facts I presented. They sit there and ignore evidence and proof. So, and then they try to sit there and attack or whatever. They said something and I responded or whatever in regards to, they sit there and say, he said basically in relation to Islam and Christianity just being differences of opinion. I said, you can't call Islam a differences of opinion when they have a book that basically tells them to, if they don't want to have, well, I don't think I basically said the first part or whatever. I made it very basic or whatever. But if they don't want to, yeah, well, give or take a word. If they don't want to, basically, if the child refuses to have sex with the male, basically child molestation, that they could basically rape women. That's more than differences of opinion. That is a heinous crime. And basically against that of objective morality. So they're going to sit there and they're going to downplay it and put it on a one little label on there and sit there and like, oh, she's always arguing. No, I basically am right. So now that he's going to sit there and play this little thing. Oh, well, even if you are right. First of all, I'm speaking against heinous crimes. Two, so-called police, law enforcement. They're not law enforcement. They don't take my complaints against their crimes. They don't take criminal complaints. And lay down. Don't climb on me. This cat just, I mean, this cat, I just got attacked earlier by this cat. Lay down, please. I should have called it killer. No! Like, he just charges at me and jumps on me and goes, and then turns his head like this, like he's like going to shake me like a rag doll or something. I have like scratches all over my arm. So, okay, just stay calm. He looks tired though. He doesn't look like he's trying to attack me, but he doesn't look like as much as doing it. But I'm just gonna ignore him. Yeah, I'm just scared he's gonna bite my arm. Lay down. Nap time. I'll sit there and shake like a crab. If you shake your hands over his eyes, I wonder if he'll go to sleep. No, that's not working. Oh, I pet this eyebrow. Oh, it's not gonna work. Alright. Anyway, where was I at? Crime. Yeah, so anyway, he was basically attacking and using these atheistic ideologies, which is completely dead, like no knowledge. They just have these terms or whatever, they slap it on something and ignore it and label it when you're bringing knowledge and evidence to avoid it. Okay? It is hindering and obstructing justice. What Lieutenant Landy and all of these other officers are doing and refusing my complaints. They have never taken my complaints when they slandered me in complaints, flipping backwards, and they have a lot of false different complaints. I just actually got a list. Falsely, apparently they slipped in a false complaint that I never even heard of before, falsely accusing me of assaulting an officer. I never even knew that even existed. I never assaulted an officer, but they're trying to sit there and cover up their crimes and make me out to be this person when I'm speaking against crime, speaking against them assaulting me, Vineland Police, a number of occasions assaulting me, even threatening to kill me. Okay, and refuse to take my complaints, and they mock, laugh at me, twist my words, have even stolen words from me, just like this pastor's doing. This false pastor, William Clay. I'm just going to record him. All right, so they're going on about, oh, everything's about to be theological. Now, the thing is, they have a half a story on the whole theological, because the whole thing is, where that comes from, is Lieutenant Landy sitting there claiming he is basically of logic and reason, because he's atheist, discriminating against me as the other atheist, because I'm religious and believe in God. So I responded in that of theological. Mind you also, he has asked me questions and my view on things, and then sits there and slaps when I prove and confirming itself within itself. As he has asked me about it, at the end sits there and says, oh, that's your opinion. It's not an opinion. Fact, it's not an opinion. And this is the thing that they have done to me for a number of years. All the way back to Lene Bowers, who's sitting there, did the same thing. When I sat there, I don't even have to have proof to make a complaint. I'm allowed to make a criminal complaint. and they have refused me from making complaints for 20 years. When I said they retaliated against me, destroyed my family, and made false complaints against me that none of them are true. None of them. So we're going to listen to the ignorant, undiscerning, arrogant asshole who's persecuting me, colluding with Vineland Police Department, committing hate crimes against me, and on top of that is speaking against himself. It's really sad he actually believes he has friends, because they're lying to him, as they have been all of these years, apparently, to sit there and cover up their crimes that they committed against me. Recordium. This is false so-called pastor, not a pastor.
For me, leadership isn't positional. Leadership is relational.
Yeah, and I basically, that's my thing. That, okay, and he knows that. Even from the get-go, he basically presented and presented in the vow between people and him, or what have you, as servant leader, and he emphasized that of service, which I actually thought was amazing. Oh well. Apparently, that's all I do. I don't know. I guess the only person who actually can relate to something like that is basically the mother of today. Okay, because these men, what they do, by the way, is that they basically play the kings of the castle, seek to be served. They can quote from the Bible all they want, that we are not to basically we are to serve, but and not to be served. And they took that out of context, since I attended this church or whatever, and refused me all sorts of services in my town. From medical services to police services. Well, I've already was refused that, obviously. And basically they made it even worse, and they're basically persecuting me, claiming I'm being punished by God based on their lie. God's not lying against me. God's not even lying against my enemies. God does not lie. There's nothing about you people that is of God.
Love, if you love God, you love yourself, and you love others.
You don't know anything about loving God.
What comes out of healthy self-love? When you love yourself, man, I tell you what, you can love God and you can love others.
It doesn't go first. First of all, you cannot love. They have a false. They have a
realistic view of who you are.
They have. They have a false idea of love, and he's going to sit there and act like he's going to explain it. He to understand. He's sitting there going through all.
All of a sudden, you're
understanding your talents, whatever. Look.
free to be you.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to be me anytime, anywhere, ever. Okay? First of all, discovering your gifts and your talent. Gifts of God is for everybody else. Knowing to love other people and how to love other people shows the fulfillment of love within yourself. Okay? Love is filled. I don't sit there and have to love myself. And they're going to sit there and say, I don't love it. Oh, because I change all this or whatever, because I say I hate you. But the thing is that thing. Is that thing. I don't even want to do this. Go sit there and teach me how to love my enemies, and these people forced me to basically be in prison to my rapist and told me how I'm not of God because I won't forgive. And they have a false idea of forgiveness. They have a false idea about love. They have a false idea about God. They worship themselves. He's sitting there covering up all his extensive thing about being self-centered and all these other things or whatever. Every time he's talking about love of self or whatever, when he's sitting there presenting it like he's trying to offer alter or something like that, or like not correct, changing it. He's doing the same thing in this principle right here, which is conflicting, which is the same principle used by Frank Appolito. Okay, I'm gonna go on. I'm just gonna record this.
Even when everybody disagrees with you.
So this is
Even
there.
when everybody doesn't understand you. Even when everybody gossips you.
See? And there you go. And then you got to throw in this whole child molester, pedophile, false doctrines that silences everything. First of all, I don't have a problem with anybody sitting there speaking about me. The problem is all they do is lie about me. That's not the same thing. And no, I'm not so insecure like these people that I'm going to like, oh, you're gossiping. You gossip about me? Yeah, I mean, there's some people are maybe insecure or what have you about it. Whatever. I'm going to talk about you. You got something evil to hide or what have you. That's not my problem. You want to sit there? I mean, I love talking about people. That's what Jesus did. So if you're evil, you're evil. I'm going to talk about your evil. If you're good, you're good. I'm going to sit there and talk about your good. And you sit there, okay. So you sit there and you have your false sermon. And I'm going to sit there and talk about your false sermon. I'm going to gossip about the poison that, and against, I'm going to gossip against your evil that you're poisoning into the air.
I didn't say those things don't hurt. See, the accusation plus the lack of self-love always equals disunity. It's just what it equals. The accusation plus healthy self-love always equals unity. I don't have to agree with you.
Your self-love?
To be unified with you.
I'm going to do another video on that. I really am.
With someone in order to be unified with them?
This is the thing.
Can you still stay unified with someone you don't agree with? Here's another one. Can you stay unified with someone you don't like?
He's going to put all these things.
I don't know if you know this or not, but
acting like he's attacking me. Let me tell you something. First of all, a lot of majority of people on my Facebook page are my enemies. I stayed in groups with atheists who basically did the exact same thing this church did to me. It's Ramoth Church, Vineland Nazarene Ramoth Church. And I basically went back and kept going back for like 5 years as they abused me and bullied me and treated me like garbage. So you can't sit there and pretend like you're sitting there attacking me. Online, I'm more online the last number of years because, well, I'm disabled. Because I'm refused rights and services, by the way, in my town or what have you, and I was injured. Okay? So I live in chronic pain. I had chronic pain for a number of things before that. Nerve damage, trauma, broken arm. I don't know what they did to my neck. I don't know what's wrong with my neck. Everybody's like ignoring it or what have you. But when they fractured my skull, I have a bump on my neck. Okay, so on my spine. So very, very terrifying. I was like hoping like I just didn't wake up paralyzed one day. I don't know what's wrong with it. And the police basically did all they can to sit there making sure I didn't get treatment, so it's not on record. By the way, you can feel the fractured skull bone in the back of my head. By the way, I was knocked unconscious. So, oh wow, they were actually in the other room in the court. By the way, this church, whatever cult. So, the thing is that, explained all that, and I just lost track of what I was. I'm just going to record this. Whatever. I'm in
There's
a
just
lot of
going to be
pain right
some
now.
people with their personalities and other things. They may rub you the wrong way. Can you still be unified with them?
How you going to be? This is a thing. Personalities rub you the wrong way. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Look, I was in these groups. He invited me in these groups to bully me. I was in one group I was invited to that had like over like 5,000, like 3 to 4, 5,000 people, and they were actually racist. And they had a variety of people. There was like atheists. There was like claimed Christians. Most of them of the COGIC. Did I say that right? Yeah. And Pentecostals. And hundreds of them bullied me and abused me every day in there. And I still talked about the things of God and shone light and was in this group. I obtained a couple of friends. They're actually on my list. Not friends, but some people who like latched on and basically was intrigued because of my views, because while it wasn't like all the other churches, many of the churches, traditional churches, I've been invited to atheist group to be bullied like they all do. They deliberately invite um anybody who claims to be Christian or not, or believes in God, they invite to their groups to bully them. And my experiences was, I mean, I just, first of all, I just wanted the experiences of learning about people, even these people who were treating me badly. So I got invited to groups of Islam atheists and claimed Christians, and atheist versus Christian versus Islam. And yeah, I battled every day. And so the thing is, all I did was give knowledge, okay? And educated, while a majority of them were very uneducated and had so many false, evil ideas about God from all sides, and what Christians actually believed, or who was Jesus or God, and things like that. And because I'm disabled, where I was disabled, I basically spent a lot of hours doing this. And because of my chronic pain and, what I can like handle and endure encountering people, and I was cyberbullied every single day. I mean, it took a big toll on me. It was very, very, I mean, he's talking about like encountering like, oh, because you disagree with somebody. They're going to play these games or whatever. I stayed in these groups for years and was treated like trash, the same way the Ramoth Church treated me. All across the nation, many different states, and internationally, by a majority of people. So he's going to go on his, oh, just because you don't get along with people, this is who you are, because you're not going to talk to that person anymore and play this little game, echoing the lies and deceptions of the Vineland, New Jersey Police Department. I just want to let you know, William Clay was the one that basically connected me to be more connected in opposition as I was being persecuted by police. That it was William Clay connecting with police and connecting me, as I was actually enduring so much abuse that it was unbelievable. And he doesn't know what it's like, because, oh, well, they're his friends, and, oh, he's a man. I was a traumatized victim of abuse, getting abused by hundreds of people. So almost on a daily basis, personally in my own town and online. Courts, everything else or whatever, stay connected. See, I know how to stay connected in many different forms. I went to about 30 churches in Vineland. I was opposed to their beliefs. And I basically went to these churches. I didn't want to make this long. And it's 40 minutes already. I gotta record this. I didn't want this at the end of my video.
You're not like them.
He tries to judge people in isolated incidences when he does not know what he's talking about.
I don't know if you know this or not, but it took the death of Jesus on the cross to create love and unity. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Love and unity existed well before Jesus' death on the cross. So that's just a lie from one of Satan's liars, by the way. But he knows this.
Without the cross, there was no creation of love and unity. And Jesus dies on the cross.
That is false, and he knows that.
And he defeats sin. And he defeats the grave. And he creates love and unity. But it cost him his earthly life. He had to die in order to create what we all get to enjoy. Well, I want to help you out with something this morning. It will take death to self to sustain the loving unity that's been imparted to us. We're not going to have loving unity in this church if some of us are not willing to die to self, to die to our opinions, to die to our beliefs, to die to our thoughts, to die to have to be right.
Yeah, beliefs and thoughts, that's the same thing. And another term that Lieutenant Laney used, oh, that's what you believe. Reporting a crime, and he's just going to go off, oh, that's what you believe. And not make my complaint. See, the thing is, the atheists call a belief a false thing. This is what the anti-theist atheists do. They call belief a false thing, say they don't believe in anything. They don't have a belief. And whoever believes in God or whatever, because belief is basically a thought. And that's what they do. Oh, that's a belief. I've been going through that for years, by the way. This is years. This is a cookie cutter echo. This is what is in internal affairs. Oh, and they're like, oh, she's always arguing because I basically educated and enlightened them on, well, a belief is a thought. Oh, you're always arguing. I'm like, yeah, I believe I'm presenting basically my experience.
The theological conversations that are just arguments.
That's him arguing in vain, by the way. I don't ever argue in vain. And by the way, my what I have done serves a purpose, and he is actually judging falsely with deception by the lies of a liar of Lieutenant Christopher Landy and others surrounding. When they sit there and want to bring up issues or what have you, and he's going to make these, just brand me with these labels or whatever. But you try to bounce off of one of my statements and make you basically, do this thing about labels or whatever, not even interpreting my my proverb, my experience of that, of what I wrote, and basically in regards to labels. I never spoke against labels, by the way, but they can't discern and interpret, by the way. But he doesn't know what he's talking about.
To die to our shame.
Another thing, and I can't record it because I would have to go back, but I have to end this. But Here's the thing. I made a statement in regards to actually related to other things in a conversation or what have you. So it was a principle that I was using in regards relating to my statement because I lagged at the end of the line and I was talking about a scene when I was around 7 years old, by the way. I had no shame. But there was somebody that's basically a lie coming by a principle, not by the claimed atheist, but the claimed false Christian Pentecostal, who are atheists and have a lot of false concepts that try to use the same false indoctrination of anti-theist atheism. Okay, that do the same thing, promoting their ignorance, and using Jesus' name in vain. So I'm going to go on.
To die to your perception of other people, to die to our jealousy.
Die to your perception, because I perceive, and they do not. And they're going to include, this is the thing, I told them that they are jealous. This is why they keep sitting there slandering me, and like these churches, they are basically stealing things from me, slandering me, and so has the police officers in the Vineland, New Jersey Police Department. Okay, the fraudulent Pentecostals and others have stolen knowledge from me and slandered me and telling me, oh, I don't know what I'm talking about and all these other things or whatever, and try to make me out to be someone who is ignorant, who don't know what I'm talking about, while I was sitting there exposing that they don't know what they're talking about. This is what they're doing. And they're scapegoating me and flipping things backwards. Doing all that is their jealousy, by the way.
See, I just want to help you out with something. When you watch Jesus dying on the cross,
I never seen or witnessed Jesus dying on the cross, and that was a thing that I've actually said a while ago, and many other things. It's like, no, I'm sorry, you don't remember Jesus dying on the cross. No, you don't. And I'm sorry, you're not going to go to hell if you basically don't believe that, or don't believe, or never knew about Jesus or the person in the year that came in the year 2000. No, you're not going to go to hell for that. And to sit there and claim, oh, Jesus died on the cross, doesn't make you a believer that Jesus died on the cross. Just out of the window of nowhere. And they'll sit there and isolate it and get a passage, by the way, and sit there and they can use the scene of Thomas all they want. They're taking it out of context and out of time. Okay? And they're like, oh, blessed are those who have not seen and believe, or what have you, have no idea what they're talking about. These are people going through the experience of basically Jesus died on the cross, and the person who, mind you, reflecting into the same thing where their other so-called pastor, Brandon, has sat there and like, oh, we're around him every day. Oh, yeah, well, Jesus' disciples are around him every day. And even Thomas sat there and basically did not know and did not see the things that were right there about Jesus. Like, they cannot discern that this guy right here, William Clay, is speaking a lot of damnable false doctrines against Jesus Christ and against them, even deliberately.
if we're going to sustain the unity and the love he gave us, that's the picture of what's going to have to happen to every single one of us.
He's presenting a unity, everybody getting together to crucify Jesus.
I just have to be honest with you this morning, church. I don't know if we're all willing to die.
Right, I have to pick this on the part because I didn't expect it to get back too far into this late, so I have to do another part.